Have you ever locked eyes with a shadow that shouldn't exist, only to feel its gaze burn into your soul long after it's gone? Imagine the crisp October air of Salem, Massachusetts, on Halloween night 2023, where the veil between worlds frays like old lace, and the ghosts of the damned don't just whisper, they demand your attention. This is the true story of Emily Hargrove, a 32-year-old bartender who spent half her life slinging drinks in the heart of witch country, dismissing every spectral tale as tourist bait. But on October 31st, 2023, Emily learned that some spirits aren't content with folklore. They crave witnesses. And tonight, you're that witness. Emily's shift at the Black Cat Tavern on Essex Street started like any other Halloween rush. The place, a creaky colonial relic from 1690, was packed with costumed revelers, witches with pointed hats, vampires flashing plastic fangs, and ghouls chugging pumpkin ales. Emily, dressed in her standard black apron over jeans, moved like a shadow herself, pouring drafts and cracking jokes about the witch trials that put Salem on the map. 20 innocents hanged or pressed to death in 1692, she'd quipped to wide-eyed out-of-towners. But tonight, the only trial is surviving last call. By midnight, the crowd thinned, leaving behind a haze of cigarette smoke and spilled cider that clung to the low-beamed ceilings. Emily wiped down the scarred oak bar, the wood etched with centuries of initials and curses scratched by patrons' long dust. She was alone now, the jukebox humming a low, eerie rendition of Season of the Witch by Donovan, its notes warping in the draft from the cracked window. That's when she felt it, a heaviness in the air, like the barometer dropping before a nor'easter, though the forecast called for clear skies. She shrugged it off as fatigue. 12-hour shifts on concrete floors do that to you. Locking the back door, she stepped into the alley, the cobblestones slick with fallen leaves and the faint metallic tang of rain that never came. Essex Street was a ghost town at 2 a.m., the jack-o'-lanterns on stoops flickering their last breaths, their carved grins mocking the silence. Emily fished her keys from her pocket, her breath fogging in the chill, when the first whisper slithered into her ear. Ely. It was soft, like wind through dry reeds, but unmistakable. Her name, drawn out in a voice neither male nor female, laced with a desperation that prickled her skin. She spun, heart thudding against her ribs, expecting a stumbling drunk or a prankster in a sheet. Nothing. Just the alley's brick walls, graffiti-tagged with faded pentagrams from last year's revelers, and a stray cat arching its back atop a dumpster. "Hello?" she called, her voice smaller than she'd intended, swallowed by the night. No answer, but the whisper returned, closer now, from behind. "Join us." Emily bolted, her boots slapping the pavement as she hurried toward Derby Street, where her apartment waited in a converted 18th-century row house. The whispers chased her, a chorus now, overlapping in frantic urgency. Names she didn't recognize, pleas in archaic English that sounded like mercy, spectral evidence, hanged unjust. Her pulse roared in her ears, drowning out the distant laughter from a late-night party. But not the chill that seeped through her jacket, as if icy fingers traced her spine. By the time she reached the wrought-iron gate of her building, sweat beaded her forehead despite the cold, and she fumbled the key twice before jamming it into the lock. Slamming the door behind her, she leaned against it, gasping, the whispers fading to a murmur like receding waves. "Just the wind," she muttered, flicking on the hall light, its bulb buzzing faintly. But deep down, she knew better. Salem wasn't just a brand. It was a scar on the land, and on nights like this, it wept. The next morning, November the 1st, Emily dragged herself to brunch at a cafe on Hawthorne Boulevard, nursing a black coffee to chase away the fog of a sleepless night. Her co-worker Tara, a history buff with a tattoo of the Salem Village gallows on her forearm, slid into the booth uninvited. "Rough night? You look like you saw Tituba's familiar." Emily forced a laugh, but it cracked. "Something like that. Heard voices on the way home. Creepy as hell." Tara's eyes lit up, leaning in like she'd been waiting for this. "Spill," Where? Essex, after closing. Whispers calling my name, then begging. Tara's fork paused mid-air. The black cat? That's built on Bridget Bishop's old orchard. First witch hanged in 92, pressed to death under stones for refusing to confess. They say her spirit wanders Essex on All Hallows' Eve, recruiting the faithless to her coven. Voices, cold spots, shadows that follow you home. Emily shivered, the cafe's warmth doing nothing. You're messing with me. Swear on my ancestor's grave. Wait, bad example. Look it up. Back home, Emily did, scrolling through digitized trial transcripts on the Salem Witch Trials Memorial Site. Bridget Bishop convicted on spectral evidence, visions of her shape tormenting accusers. Hanged July 19, 1692. Her last words a curse on the court. The devil will have his due. Emily's stomach twisted. It fit too neatly. The whispers, the plea to join. That afternoon, she confided in her landlord, old Mr. Whitaker, a grizzled retiree who'd lived in Salem 60 years. Girl, you ain't the first. Every Halloween, someone gets the call. Last year, a tourist swore she saw Bridget at the Wax Museum, pointing fingers like she was choosing her next jury. Whitaker paused, his pipe forgotten. Ignore it, and it fades. Engage, and, well, folks start seeing things. Emily tried ignoring. She took the week off, binge-watching rom-coms and avoiding Essex Street. But the dreams came, vivid, unrelenting. In them, she stood in a crowded courtroom, Puritan garb heavy on her shoulders, as accusing fingers jabbed from the gallery. Witch, they screamed, and Bridget Bishop, noose-burned neck exposed, gripped her hand. Testify true, or join us eternal. She'd wake drenched, the air in her bedroom thick with the scent of hemp rope and wood smoke. By mid-November, the encounters escalated. Footsteps echoed in her empty apartment at dusk, soft patters like children's games turning sinister. Objects moved, a teacup sliding across the kitchen table, books tumbling from shelves in perfect alignment, spelling confess on the floor. Emily installed cameras, motion sensors, even smudged sage from a New Age shop on Pickering Wharf. Nothing registered. The tech captured only static bursts, like interference from another frequency. Desperate, she joined a paranormal meetup at the Witch House, the 17th-century home of Judge Jonathan Corwin. The group, led by a psychic named Silas with a ponytail and aura crystals, held a séance in the parlor. "Spirits of the trials speak," Silas intoned, candles guttering. The planchette under Emily's fingers jerked, spelling, "Bishop claims her due." Gasps rippled through the circle. Silas paled. "Bridget's bound to the land, furious at the mockery, tours, haunted houses. She's marking you as conduit." Emily fled, but not before a gust extinguished all flames, plunging the room into darkness, pierced by a single whisper. "Emily, testify." Weeks blurred into a haze of research. Emily pored over microfiche at the Peabody Essex Museum, uncovering a 1923 account from a bootlegger who claimed Bishop's ghost led him to buried rum in her orchard, now the Black Cat's Foundation. Another, from 1978, a waitress haunted until she publicly recited Bishop's trial testimony at Gallows Hill, banishing the spirit. "Recite and repent," the waitress wrote, "or it consumes you." Halloween 2024 loomed, and Emily felt the pull, an invisible tether yanking her toward Essex. She resisted, barricading herself with salt lines and iron nails above doors, folklore wards against the unrested. But on October 30th, the power flickered during a storm, and in the blackout, her mirror reflected not her face, but Bridget's, pale, eyes hollow, lips mouthing silent accusations. Emily screamed, shattering the glass, shards drawing blood that spelled accusations on the floor. "Liar! Harlot! Witch!" The next night, Halloween, she surrendered. Dressed in black, she walked Essex Street at midnight, the crowds parting like a biblical sea. The air hummed with energy, jack-o'-lanterns leering from shadows. At the Black Cat's door, locked and dark, the whispers returned, a cacophony. "Join us. Confess. The innocent cry." Emily knelt, voice trembling, and recited Bishop's indictment from memory. For having familiarity with the devil, spectral shape afflicting the afflicted. As words spilled, the air warmed, whispers softening to sighs, then silence. A gust rattled the tavern sign, and for a moment, Emily glimpsed her, a translucent woman in a mob cap, nodding once before dissolving into mist. Peace settled, profound and eerie. Emily rose, legs shaky, and walked home unmolested. It's been a year now, October 2025, and the whispers are gone. Emily still bartends, but she shares Bridget's story not as jest, but warning. Salem remembers, she tells newcomers, and on Halloween it calls. What about you, listener? Ever felt eyes in the empty dark, urging secrets from your throat? If Emily's tale chills you deeper than the autumn wind, question the shadows in your own life. The spirits wait, patient as graves, for their due. What if the dead don't rest because their agony still smolders, ready to ignite anyone foolish enough to trespass on their pyre? Envision a forsaken farmhouse in rural Ohio, October 30th, 2024, where the harvest moon hangs low like a bloodshot eye, and the crackle of unseen flames beckons the reckless. This is the harrowing account of Marcus Riley, a 17-year-old skeptic from Millersburg, whose Halloween prank unearthed a blaze from beyond the grave. Marcus wasn't one for ghost hunts. He was the kid who debunked urban legends with YouTube videos and a steady hand on a flashlight. High school senior, varsity soccer captain, with a mop of brown hair and a grin that disarmed teachers. He lived for the adrenaline of mischief, not the supernatural. But when his crew, Jake, Tyler, and Lena, dared him to raid the old Harlan farmhouse, he couldn't back down. The place squatted on the edge of town, a sagging Victorian relic abandoned since 1974, when Elias Harlan, a reclusive farmer, perished in a barn fire that charred 40 acres, but left the house untouched. Locals whispered of his ghost, a vengeful silhouette wreathed in smoke, luring nosy teens with illusions of warmth before scorching their nerves. Bull, Marcus scoffed at lunch that day, October 30th, amid cafeteria chaos. It's just rotten raccoons. Let's Ouija the crap out of it tonight. Jake, the group's wiry joker with a Ouija board swiped from his sister's garage sale stash, high-fived him. Tyler, stocky and superstitious, muttered about bad juju, but Lena, Marcus's crush with electric blue streaks in her hair, sealed it. Only if you go first up the stairs, hero. Dusk fell early, painting the sky bruise purple as they piled into Tyler's beat-up Ford Ranger, thermos of spiked hot chocolate sloshing between them. The drive out Route 39 wound through cornfields stripped bare, stalks rattling like bones in the wind. Headlights caught the farmhouse's silhouette, a hulking shadow with boarded windows like blind eyes and a porch sagging under ivy chokeholds. Gravel crunched under tires as they parked in the weed-choked drive, flashlights slicing the gloom. Smells like wet dog and regret, Lena quipped, but her voice wavered. Marcus led, crowbar in hand from Tyler's toolbox, prying a loose board from the back door with a splintering groan that echoed unnaturally. Inside, the air hit like a fist, stale, laced with mildew and something sharper, like struck matches. Floorboards protested under sneakers, dust motes swirling in beam cones like spectral confetti. The living room was a time capsule, threadbare settee, wallpaper peeling in floral agony, a stone fireplace cold as a tomb. They spread a moth-eaten quilt from upstairs, creaky flights navigated with jokes about poltergeists, and unpacked the Ouija. Candles from Lena's bag flickered to life, casting jittery shadows that danced like imps. "Spirits of Harlan Farm," Jake intoned dramatically, fingers light on the planchette. "Are you here to scare some dumbasses?" Giggles rippled, but Marcus felt the temperature dip, a subtle bite nipping his knuckles. The board stayed inert at first, planchette quivering under their collective nudge. "What's your beef, Elias?" Tyler ventured, emboldened by sips from the thermos. Then it moved, slow, deliberate, dragging their fingers to YES. Lena yanked back. Wind? But the room sealed tight. No drafts. Marcus pressed, adrenaline buzzing. How'd you die? The planchette hesitated, then flew. B-U-R-N-E-D. Jake whooped. Fake. Tyler. You sneaky. But Tyler's hands were visible, palms up. The air thickened, acrid now, sulfur-tinged, and their phone screens glitched, static, snowing across selfies. Cut it, Lena whispered. But Marcus, ego aflame, pushed. Show yourself. Silence, then a thud overhead, like a body hitting floorboards. Dust sifted from the ceiling. Rat, Marcus lied, but his voice cracked. Another thump closer to the stairs, followed by a low groan, wood settling or straining. Tyler bolted the door, but Lena grabbed Marcus's arm. We leave. Now. He shook her off, climbing the stairs alone, beam trembling. Each step creaked like a scream, banister splintering under grip. The hallway above stretched endless in the dark, doors ajar like gaping mouths. The groans morphed to crackles, faint pops like embers bursting. Marcus's beam caught a bedroom door, half off hinges, and inside, the impossible. No furniture, just walls scorched black in patterns, no fire leaves, handprints, claw marks etched deep. The air shimmered, heat mirage rising, though his skin prickled cold. Elias, he breathed, foolhardy. The haze coalesced, a figure forming, tall, broad-shouldered, in overalls fused to flesh like melted wax, face obscured by a cowl of smoke that writhed like living tendrils. But the eyes, God, the eyes, twin infernos, orange and unblinking, boring into Marcus with hatred pure as napalm. Flames licked the apparition's edges, illusory yet searing. Marcus smelled burning hair, his own. The figure lunged, not walking but billowing forward, heat waves slamming Marcus back. He tumbled downstairs, bruising ribs, screams tearing from throat as the crew hauled him up. Outside they ran, truck roaring to life as the farmhouse receded, windows glowing faintly. No. Wait. That was after image. Or was it? Panting in Tyler's driveway at 2 a.m., Marcus retched bile, the scent of smoke clinging to clothes. Saw him, he gasped. Burning. Alive. Jake paled. Dude, we gotta tell... But Tyler, scrolling frantic, shoved his phone. Harlan didn't just burn. Arson cover-up. Wife locked him in the barn. Torched it for insurance. Door bolted from outside. He scratched pleas in the beams. Let me out. Cops ruled accident. Lena hugged Marcus, her warmth anchor. He thinks we're her, or the fire. Sleep evaded Marcus that week. Dreams replaying the blaze. Skin blistering, lungs filling with soot. Elias's roar a wind tunnel of rage. He skipped school, haunted by singe marks on his jacket that wouldn't wash out, faint outlines of fingers. Paranormal podcasts became obsession. He messaged investigators who warned, restless deaths like that? They imprint. You're marked till you resolve it. November brought snow, burying the farm, but Marcus returned alone on All Souls' Day. Candles and a printed confession from Harlan's widow, dead 20 years. At the bedroom threshold he read aloud, Elias, I free you. The truth is out. No figure appeared, but peace settled, heavy as ash. By Halloween 2025, Marcus shares the tale at parties, no longer pranking. Ghosts aren't chains, he says. They're echoes begging silence. Listener, ponder your own fires, regrets that smolder, waiting for a spark. Dare you face them before they consume? Could the dead command the living with a glance, turning a festive night into a ritual of dread, where escape means defying the grave itself? Step into the humid embrace of New Orleans' French Quarter on Halloween 2022, where jazz wails like lost souls and the Mississippi's murmur hides curses older than the city. This is Claire Dubois's nightmare made real, a 28-year-old ghost tour guide whose knowledge of the arcane became her curse when Marie Laveau's spirit chose her as vessel. Claire thrived on the spooky economy. her nights lit by lantern glow as she herded tourists through shadowed alleys, spinning yarns of yellow fever ghosts and voodoo queens. Petite, with Creole curls and a voice like velvet thunder, she embodied the Crescent City's mystique. New Orleans ain't haunted, she'd tease. It's possessed, with rhythm. But October 31st, 2022, stripped the jest. Her tour that night was intimate. 6 souls in feathered masks and top hats, paying premium for the Veil Thins edition at St. Louis Cemetery Numberda, won the City of the Dead since 1789. Wrought iron gates creaked open at dusk, tombs stacked like forgotten books, air thick with jasmine and decay. Claire led them past Marie Laveau's pyramid vault, scarred with XXX wishes from supplicants. The Voodoo Queen, 1801 to 1881, she intoned, voice echoing off marble. Healer, hairdresser, hoodoo priestess, cursed governors, loved a prince. Buried here, but her power, it lingers. They say on Halloween she walks, drumming the heartbeat of the Loa. The group oohed, flashbulbs popping illicitly. That's when Claire noticed her. Evelyn, mid-40s, lace shawl over a sequined gown, lagging at the vault, fingers tracing the bricks as if reading Braille.
Evelyn, stay close, Cher. The dead get grabby.
But Evelyn stared transfixed, lips moving silent.
Claire looped back, lantern swinging. Up close, Evelyn's eyes were glassy, skin ashen under makeup. She's here, Evelyn hissed, breath fetid with grave dirt.
Claire chuckled nervously.
That's the point, sugar. Marie's always here in stories.
But the air shifted, humid to cloying, like swamp gas rising. A rhythmic thump pulsed from nowhere, drums of bone and hide, vibrating in chests. The group clustered, whispers frantic. "Earthquake!" a man yelped. Claire's lantern sputtered, wick drowning in wax, plunging them to starlight and tomb glow. Panic clawed, hands groped in dark. Then, silhouettes sharpened. A woman gliding from shadows, tall in white tignon turban and madras skirts, ebony skin luminous, one hand clutching a flickering taper that cast no heat. She moved without step, skirts whispering over gravel, eyes, Lord, those eyes, pools of midnight-flecked gold, locking on Evelyn, then Claire. No sound but the drums, accelerating like a fever dream. "Marie?" Claire breathed, legs rooted. The figure paused at the vault, head tilting appraisingly, lips curving in a smile both benevolent and voracious. She raised the candle, wax dripping black, and the flame leaped, illuminating faces in the circle. Tourists frozen. Evelyn, weeping silent. Claire's mind raced. Folklore flooded. Laveau's gris-gris protected the quarter, but offended spirits demanded tribute. Had Evelyn scratched an X without offering rum? The Queen extended a hand, nails long and filed to points, toward Evelyn, who crumpled, clutching her throat as if strangled by invisible cord. Claire lunged, shoving between. "No, she's under my care!" The drums peaked, a cacophony of Congo square echoes, and the air crackled electric. The figure's gaze shifted to Claire, probing soul-deep, unearthing buried grief, her mother's cancer death, unanswered prayers at this very tomb. "You seek power?" the voice rasped, not heard but felt in marrow, accented French patois. Claire shook head. "Just stories." Laughter bubbled, low and tidal. "Stories are spells, child. Weave mine true or unravel." The taper extinguished, figure dissolving to mist that clung cold and scented clove cinnamon. Lights reignited. Evelyn gasped awake, unharmed but dazed. Saw her, wanted my sins. The group fled gates, babbling to Basin Street, Claire trailing, skin crawling. Home in Bywater Shotgun House, Claire scoured photos on her phone. One at the vault showed Evelyn, but behind, a translucent overlay, turbaned head superimposed, golden eyes staring through lens. Chills racked her. She burned sage from Magazine Street Botanica, chanting protective vives. But dreams invaded. Claire as Laveau, grinding herbs in iron pot, calling Loa with veils of smoke, crowds kneeling. Waking drenched, she'd find scrawls on walls, voodoo symbols in her handwriting, blood-red ink from bitten lip. Tour reviews poured in. Claire channeled Marie, 5 stars. But cancellations mounted. Whispers of her possession. Desperate, Claire consulted Aunt Zora, last Bokor of the lineage, in a Garden District cottage, reeking incense. "The Queen tests," Zora rasped, beads clacking. "You mocked her walk. Now dance it true, or she dances in you." Ritual followed. Full moon bath in rue and hyssop, offerings at tomb, black hen feathers, cornmeal vive traced under stars. Claire drummed bayou rhythms on upturned bucket, voice cracking Creole prayers. Baron Samedi, gatekeeper, loose my thread from hers. Dawn broke feverish. Mist rose from the ground, forming the Queen one last time, nodding approval before fading. Claire emerged unburdened, but changed. Tours now reverent, laced with warnings. Respect the veil, lest it claims you. In 2025, she leads Laveau Legacy Walks, sharing Evelyn's survival as testament. Spirits don't haunt, they heal through horror. You, hearing this, ever felt a rhythm not your own, pulling strings unseen? Heed Claire, the dead drum on, waiting for dancers. Ever danced on the edge of oblivion, where the earth's pulse becomes a siren's call, trapping you in revels that span eternities in heartbeats? Transport to the mist-shrouded hills of County Kerry, Ireland, Halloween 2024, when ancient Sidhe portals yawn wide, and mortals who peak pay with years stolen in starlight. This is Sean's reckoning, a 45-year-old farmer whose scoff at fairy lore summoned guardians fiercer than any banshee wail. Sean O'Connor tilled the same boggy acres his da claimed in 1892, a broad man with calloused hands and a beard frosted like the heather. Life was peat fires and ewes lambing, superstitions dismissed as tourist tripe for the Ring of Kerry coaches, the fairy ring on his northeast pasture. A mere mushroom circle, he grumbled, mowing it flat each spring despite neighbors' crossed signs. Seedy fiddlesticks, he'd snort over pints at the laurels. But October 31st, 2024, under a Samhain moon bloated silver, the ring called reckoning. Sean bedded late, storm winds keening like keening women, but a bleat pierced, unnatural, layered, as if every sheep chorused woe. Torch in hand, wellies sloshing bog, he trudged out at 1 a.m., collie bran at heel, fur bristling, fog rolled thick from the Atlantic, veiling barbed wire like bridal gauze. The ring emerged, toadstools regrown defiant, phosphorescent in torchlight, encircling bare earth pulsing faint green like bioluminescent veins. Fox got the lambs, Sean muttered, but Bran whined, tail tucked. Lights flickered within, tiny orbs, will-o'-the-wisps, locals cursed, dancing clockwise in jig. "Brats with LEDs!" Sean bellowed, stomping forward. Orbs brightened, multiplying to a dozen, humming low, a melody ancient as Terra, fiddle strings plucked by invisible bows. Bran's hackles rose. He bolted, yelping into fog. Sean pressed, boot crossing the ring's edge, ground yielding soft as fresh grave. The world tilted, fog crystallized to fractals, air shimmering iridescent, and figures materialized, tall, lithe shadows in cloaks of leaf and thorn, faces elfin sharp, eyes like polished jet, no whites, no mercy. They circled, hands linked, steps surreal, both graceful and grotesque, nails elongated to talons scraping air. Laughter tinkled, bell-like yet edged shards, echoing in Sean's skull. "Join the dance, mortal," one crooned, voice honey over razor. "Female, male, both?" Sean staggered, limbs leaden, quicksand grip pulling downward. He clawed turf, but earth responded, vines snaking ankles, thorns pricking blood that sowed crimson toadstools instant. The dancers closed, breath cool as cave draft, carrying scents moss and wild mint, mingled decay, faces blurred close, one with antler crown, grinning wolfish, another porcelain pale, lips blueberry-stained, whispering Gaelic fragments. Ta and dorchadas ag teached, the dark comes for wanderers. Sean's heart thundered, vision tunneling to the ring's glow, now a vortex swirling emerald, sucking time. Hours, minutes.
He glimpsed eternity. Revels unending. Mortals aged to husks mid-waltz, sidey unchanging, feasting on stolen youth. Panic surged. He roared Brigid's prayer, saint against fey. Fiery arrow, shield thy servant. Vines recoiled slight, dancers faltering, orbs dimming. With Herculean wrench, Sean freed one leg, then lunged free, tumbling backward, fog parting like curtain. The ring lay still, lights snuffed, but his skin itched phantom itches, echoes of hands brushing. Dawn found him huddled gateside, Bran nosing worried. The ring? Trampled barren, mushrooms pulverized to dust. But Sean's watch read 4 a.m. 3 hours vanished. Neighbors shunned talk, but old Mrs. Keene, hazel stick tapping, crossed him thrice. "Ye dance the trod, lad. 7 years luck, if ye live." Nightmares followed, endless balls in hill halls, crystal chandeliers dripping dew, partners crumbling to bone mid-twirl. Sheep birthed deformed, milk soured overnight. Sean consulted Father Riley, who blessed the land with holy water sizzling on soil. "Cedar hate iron and faith," the priest murmured. "Forge a horseshoe over door, speak no invitation." By spring 2025, the ring regrew. But Sean skirted wide, planting rowans, fairy wards, with whispered litanies. Halloween comes again, and he bars windows, fire banked high. "They dance eternal," he tells wary lads at market. "One step in, and you're gone till doomsday. Hearken, wanderer, the hills hum invitations. Will you refuse, or sway to their tune?"